Us now is one of the top Democrats on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, the Congresswoman from the state of North Carolina, Kathy Manning. Congresswoman, thanks for being back here on the Hill. Appreciate the time from you as always. You were listening in there to Robert. The war is not over from the Israeli perspective. You wrote in a statement earlier this month, a ceasefire without the dissolution of Hamas and the release of hostages would only give Hamas time to regroup and attack civilians again. Isn't that essentially where we are right now? Because there is this ceasefire, but Hamas is still there. So I'm wondering if you're satisfied.
There is a ceasefire. The Israelis have certainly done an enormous amount to go after the Hamas fighters, to break down their operational capabilities. But the other thing we have to think about is one of the goals was not just to destroy Hamas, but also to get back the hostages. And we have seen over the last 4 days the release of hostages. The release of the hostages today was so compelling. All those children who have been held captive for 6 weeks in probably very difficult circumstances. It's heartbreaking to think about what they have gone through. And there are over 180 hostages that are still being held. So we need to continue to push for the release of all the hostages. And we need to understand that it is incumbent upon Israel to make sure that Hamas is never able to do this to Israelis again.
But I guess, how do you pick back up the war after a truce?
That's going to be up to the IDF. And I have great confidence that the Israeli Defense Forces can determine how to go after the Hamas fighters, how to go after the terrorists who wreaked havoc against Israeli civilians on October 7th.
There is a story in the Washington Post, Congresswoman, over the weekend about President Biden, the leader of your party, meeting with 5 prominent Muslim Americans, and he expressed regret about civilian casualties. The quote in the Washington Post is, quote, "I'm sorry, I'm disappointed in myself, I will do better." You think the president should be sorry? You think he needs to do better?
I think the president has done a remarkable job of standing with Israel and supporting the government of a democracy that was invaded by thousands of terrorists. And the purpose of that invasion was specifically to slaughter civilians and take civilians captive. We all feel terrible for what happened to innocent Palestinians. And it's hard not to see what has happened to innocent civilians, what's happened to their homes, and not feel terrible for them. But I think we have to remember that it is Hamas that caused all of this. Hamas, the leaders that were elected to serve the Palestinian people, who embed their weaponry, their operational headquarters under hospitals, in schools, in mosques, they are the ones who are at fault.
Congresswoman, you were the, before you got into politics, as you know, you were the former board chair of the Jewish Federations of North America. You saw Elon Musk there today. There's a lot going on. I don't know if you heard us talking at the top of the show between comments that were made on the platform and then potential national security issues with Starlink and maybe a deal that was cut there. What do you make of Elon Musk in Israel today, and do you take any issue with it?
Well, there are some serious issues with Elon Musk. Number one, he has not only allowed hateful anti-Semitic rhetoric to be spread on his platform, he has actually spread it himself and agreed with it. He needs to understand. In fact, I think he said in the quote that this bit that you played was that propaganda must stop that is training people to be murderers. Well, he needs to make note of his own comments, because he is allowing propaganda to be spread on his platform that is training murderers. We have seen that anti-Semitic hatred has inspired, for example, the shooter at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. He is allowing that kind of anti-Semitism to be spread on his platform. He needs to do more. And by the way, it's not just up to his own good graces to stop the spread of anti-Semitism. I think Congress should be looking at the spread of hateful and violence-inducing speech on social media platforms, and take steps to stop it.
All right, Congresswoman Kathy Manning from North Carolina. Thanks for being back. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.